In this video we're going to talk about compression techniques, specifically the two types of compression techniques, which is lossy compression and lossless compression. Lossy compression is compression where you lose some of the original data in the file. So JPEG is an example of lossy compression. The way that JPEG work, it actually averages out colours within it. So if you have a look at this image here, what you'll find is if you just focus in on this area here, there's really some nice patterns happening in the picture. Whereas if you have a look here, what's happened is the colours in the pixels, there's really only two colours there. It's a dark grey and a light grey. So what happens is it actually averages out those colours, so you get a little bit of a loss in quality. But the most important thing obviously is that you lose a lot of file size when you go from a raw file to JPEG. But that data can't be put back in once it's taken out. So what happens with lossy compression is sometimes you get something called compression artifacts, particularly if you save a file as a JPEG, and then in Photoshop, for example, you can save the level of compression, and the higher level of quality means that the more compressed it is, and the lower level of quality means the more compressed it is. So what happens is that after you've saved something as a JPEG, say at low quality, if you save it again at low quality, it compresses it again. So what can happen is after a number of rotations of compression, that you can actually get what we call artifacts, which is where you can actually start to see individual pixels within the files, or missing pixels or things like that. The key here to understanding lossy compression is that those artifacts exist because the data isn't retained, and once you throw that data away, you don't get it back. This image from Information and Software Technology, a project-based approach from Fiss and Longman, is a really good representation of lossless compression. Basically, with lossless compression, what happens is the data is compressed, but the original data is stored. So if we have a look here at the pixels, what we have along here is that we have, we've got, say for example, 8 lots of red pixels here. Now rather than saving pixel 1, pixel 2, pixel 3, pixel 4, pixel 5, pixel 6, pixel 7, pixel 8, what it does instead is it compress that by saying when you uncompress, show 8 lots of the red pixel. Okay. Here it's quicker to say 1 pixel of green, okay, and the pixel here, the green pixel here is just 1 pixel of green. Same thing here, 32, okay, that's 1 pixel of that colour purple, 1 pixel of this colour purple, 1 pixel of this colour purple. In this case then there's 6 pixels of that blue. Again, it's quicker to say 1 pixel of 96 and 1 pixel of 96 than to say 2 pixels of 96. Because you're still representing that in 2 pieces of data, so there's no point in taking the extra time to uncompress that because it's already compressed as far as it can be. Here we've got 5 pixels of that coloured orange, the 37 orange, and then 5 pixels of that red again, and then 2 pixels of the pink. And again, we don't represent this as 2 lots of that pink because that's the same amount of data as 2 lots of the pink. Okay. The best part of lossless compression is that all of that data is retained. So what happens is when you uncompress it, then you end up with a picture-perfect image. Obviously, the more colours that you have, then the harder this compression works, which is why it works so well with PNG, which really only support 256 or 8-bit colour. So just to repeat on that, lossless data is data where it's compressed, but then when you uncompress it, then it comes back to its regular form. Another example of this outside of the multimedia industry would be using something like a zip file where you would come back and have the same file structure again. Zip's not really a great example though because it's not really a multimedia file. It's sort of more just like a generic file compression. When we talk about compression in multimedia, we're really talking about the type of compression that comes from file types and codecs.